Okay, so welcome to another episode of The Real Grill featuring myself, Peter, along with my co-hosts, Lawrence, Cameron, Ruben, and Subi. So in this episode, we're going to be discussing the latest release from the MCU roster, or the MCU sort of like collection of movies. This one is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is the latest trilogy within the MCU, and this one is pretty much the finale to an ongoing series, because it's not just like the three Guardian movies, it's leaked into the Avengers movies as well, and we've seen a bit of the Guardians pop up in other movies such as Thor: Love and Thunder. So I guess this is a farewell to Guardians of the Galaxy as we know it, and this movie in particular takes us on sort of a long journey, because it's like a 2.5 hour movie. It's pretty long, but obviously we'll get to main opinions a little bit down the line, but just want to say that I feel like it was a fitting farewell, it was a fitting bookend to this Guardians of the Galaxy iteration. Well, obviously, in my personal opinion, obviously not everybody might feel the same way, but just quickly before we get into the story, I just wanna ask, like, this is just setting off point. I'm not actually gonna like draw out the plot, but like, can you guys imagine in an alternate universe where James Gunn was not fired, and we got this movie earlier, because obviously this movie was delayed because of certain things that happened in 2018, we all know about. And as a result of that, James Gunn actually ended up jumping ship to the DC, to Disney's rival, or Marvel's rival, DC, and not only made a Suicide Squad movie and the Peacemaker series, but actually ended up becoming one of the producers of the new DC era, the new DC, the upcoming era. So it's quite insane that he's gone from being fired by Marvel Disney straight after, just before the release of this movie, the initial release date, to actually obviously returning, being rehired. I think he was rehired like the following year, and us getting this movie, but us also getting all of this other DC stuff, which I guess is a good thing, because as I said before, I thought that this movie did certain things well, which we'll get into. But who wants to kind of like talk about the story? Because I feel like the story, it's not the most complex plot, but there is a lot of moving parts to it.
I think it's safe to say that this movie is quite a few levels above what Phase 5 has given us so far, and it's evident that a good director can produce quality if given the right tools, because obviously this is by far one of the best movies of Phase 5. I can't think of any other movie in Phase 5 that even comes close to this one.
To be fair, it's only the second one in Phase 5.
No?
We're only in the second one in Phase 5, to be fair. But yeah, in the last two phases, you're right. I think it's the best ones,
right. So right, is Ant-Man, was Ant-Man the start of Phase 5? Oh, my bad. I was talking about like the Black Panthers and all that. That was all Phase 5.
It's still,
That's Phase 4. Phase 4.
I thought they won.
Nah, Phase 4. Phase 5 started from Ant-Man. Phase 5 from Ant-Man, and then this is the second.
Yeah.
So I think I'll just kind of the main thing. Wait, sorry, were you going to go into the story law before we start talking about like and dislike, or
go for it?
Well, I was going to say, I think the main thing which I enjoyed about this film is that it took itself seriously, and it had some depth to it, and it tried to pull at the heartstrings, because it was fully based on, obviously it was about Rocket's past. How he went from being he's a raccoon, right? I think that's been like he's a raccoon. How he went from being a raccoon to being this kind of mutated, evolved version of what the earthly raccoons are. And yeah, basically how he goes from living in captivity to later on escaping his captors and joining the Guardians. But it just had a lot of depth, showing his past, how he lost his friends, and just how much he was used. And I think it's something, when I watched the Ant-Man movie, the last one, I didn't really get that feeling of I care for these characters. I didn't feel anything in my chest, in my heart. But this movie's done a good job of making me care about the characters, even the ones that weren't on screen, like Rocket's friends who eventually got killed. They didn't get a lot of screen time, but when they eventually did die and kick the bucket, you did care, you did feel something. So yeah, I just want to say the movie had a good bit of depth to it, which I think the other latest set of Marvel movies that we have seen have been lacking.
Well, I will say, but also with this movie, I really understand why he said he didn't want Thor, because he would not have fit in with the narrative of this movie at all.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's the problem with having too many superpowered beings in like a team that's not like too superpowered and stuff to keep things grounded and stuff. Else Thor would just save the day all the time like he did.
When Thor was when he actually got him, it was he wasn't in a place he wanted him.
Yeah, exactly.
He was Thor. He wasn't Thor.
Yeah. And also, I feel like
That's true.
not to like keep dunking on Thor, but I feel like this was showing Taika Waititi how this is how you do a Save the Kids movie. Like this is how it's done.
That's true.
Similar plot.
Very true. I mean, the difference was that James Gunn actually cares about it. No, sorry, no, go on.
I was gonna say this shows how to balance comedy with actually deeper themes and actual serious themes as well.
Yeah.
Rather than turning the show into a complete circus.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, man. So, did anyone want to kind of like go through the story? That's just give a quick outline.
Yeah, sure. So it kicks off a little bit after the events of Endgame and also the events of Thor: Love and Thunder. Star-Lord, or Peter Quill, is still depressed about losing Gamora, even though obviously a past Gamora is now in his present. She doesn't remember him or know him at all, so essentially it's compounding the fact that he's lost the love of his life and he's drinking his sorrows. All of the Guardians are established as Guardians of the Galaxy in their headquarters on Nowhere, until they are attacked by Adam Warlock, which is probably one of the comic book fans will probably have a big criticism of this movie. That Adam Warlock is kind of sidelined in this movie. He's kind of like I think he's like an afterthought. Like they forgot that they teased Adam Warlock in the last movie, and now they're like, oh shit, we got to find a way to put him in here. But because obviously he's so much more powerful than everyone else, he can't be in the movie too much because it kind of breaks the movie. So they just kind of like keep him at arm's length, which I don't mind. I understood why they did it.
He is a comedic relief and he works well.
Yeah. So he obviously. Yeah. So I thought you were finished. You just taking a drink.
Go for it.
Yeah. So he obviously basically is the inciting incident when he shows up to, I guess, capture Rocket and bring him back to the main villain of the story, which is the High Evolutionary. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
High Evolutionary. Yeah. So this is basically a guy who he's basically like super egotistical. He has like high intelligence, and his main aim, his driving motivation is to create the perfect society and to basically evolve to like the ultimate life form. That's his sole driving force in the whole movie. That's his mission, and he'll basically do anything to stop it. And the reason why he wants Rocket is because Rocket is probably the most intelligent life form that he's ever created. He is actually revealed that this is who created Rocket, and this is how Rocket came to be. And he broke out of captivity, and he what do you call it? This is basically what he's been keeping to himself this whole time, because as we all know, he's he's got a lot of anger issues. He doesn't like to open up about his past, and we're finally getting the opportunity to find out exactly what happened and what made him who he is. And I think in that respect, I think someone did say that this has got a lot of deep themes, and I think Rocket is pretty much the heart and the soul of this film. I mean, I guess he's the main character, because in the first two ones, Star-Lord was more or less the focus, wasn't he? He was the one that we were following. But this is actually the biggest Rocket. I think this is the biggest character growth we've had in a movie or in the past, I'd say phase 4, because we actually see a lot of the. And this is obviously what I loved about this movie so much, is that we actually see, it's good to see, and it feels good to see like authentic character growth. And it's not just from this movie, it's starting from the first Guardians of the Galaxy, where Peter Quill, Star-Lord and Rocket were at heads, were butting heads over who's the captain of the ship. And just that moment at the end when Star-Lord finally he hands the torch to Rocket. He's like, dude, you're the captain. Like that was like the moment for me. I was like, yes, this movie has done its job. So
and I think it's pretty. They done well to allow the viewer to actually see Rocket as the main character. He is the heart of the film, despite the fact he doesn't actually have a lot of screen time in the present tense of the film. A lot of his screen time is based on his backstory, but it still communicates in a way that does make him clearly communicates he is the heart and soul of the film. Everything revolves around him, even though it is in actual events happening on screen. It's all about his friends doing what they can to save him, if that makes sense. So it's quite good that they put the heartfelt stuff in there, even though it was just through backstory. They've done that pretty well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it was set up really well. Yeah, man. So, sorry, you go on.
No, I was just gonna say here. So Adam Warlock injures, gives a life-threatening injury to Rocket, and they're unable to use any medical equipment on him because of the kill switch on its heart. So they have to go to Orgo Corp, which is where the High Evolutionaries company that actually is responsible for creating all this, to find a passcode for the kill switch so that they can bypass it. And this is where they enlist help of the Ravengers, which Gamora is working for. Are a part of the Ravagers now, so that's where she's introduced back into the story, and where she meets up with Quill as well. So even though this movie is mainly about Rocket and his past, it also does a good job of managing Peter Quill's arc in this, in terms of getting over the fact that he's lost Gamora. Gamora is dead, even though there's a Gamora in his universe. That's not his Gamora. His Gamora has died. And also managing the relationships between Drax and Mantis. I think it does a very good job of managing a lot of those interpersonal relationships without the group, while keeping it as an interesting movie with comedy thrown in at appropriate times throughout the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It also does a good job of integrating Nebula into the team as well, because obviously this is her first movie as part of the Guardians.
I mean, wasn't she in the second one? Wasn't she a Guardian in the second one?
No, she only teamed up with them in. She only teamed up with them. I think was in Endgame, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was when she teamed up with the Avengers. But this is her first official entry in as a Guardian, as a good guy throughout the film.
Seeing her trying to interact with the other members of the team, and just her interaction with Drax, it was
she was Drax very much frustrated her throughout the movie. And again, it's the kind of thing which it's the kind of thing which you can appreciate, because you have seen growth of these characters throughout all the previous movies, so you've got a feel for what their personalities are like, the type of personality conflicts they will clash with other characters, why they do. So it's all quite beautifully put together and done. I think the Mantis and Drax were some of the funniest moments on screen. I really did like the chemistry they had throughout the film. It was almost kind of like a couple kind of chemistry.
I'd say it was more like a sibling.
They kind of had going on.
They have more like a sibling chemistry.
Yeah. Speaking of siblings, so obviously I think they make reference to obviously Mantis being Peter Quill's sister in this movie, and I think that was revealed in the Christmas special. Was it? Is that when that came out?
Yeah.
And then how do you guys feel about how they kind of dropped that in the Christmas special and then kind of just normalized it in this film? Because unless I'm missing something, did they ever really touch on that anywhere? Really touch on it?
Was it not mentioned in the second movie?
No. I think it was mentioned. I think the Christmas special ended literally with someone saying something to Mantis like, "Oh, he's your brother" or something like that, and then the movie kind of ends. Christmas special ends, and then in this movie, they're just referencing that they are brother and sister. So I feel like there's the kind of gap in place where they maybe had that conversation where the characters found out they were related, unless I'm missing something. But yeah, that's one thing I found a bit weird, how they normalized that in the, like they almost expected it to you to be accepting of it and be aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get.
Yeah, I think Marvel is kind of known for that now, innit? They've introduced information in series and spin-offs that they just use in the movies, expecting everyone to watch everything that they produce.
Yeah.
I never watched the Christmas spin-off, so I only knew about it because I think Cameron told me or someone mentioned this. But it wasn't such a big plot point that if you didn't know,
well, that's it. It makes me
change much.
Well, that's it. It makes me feel with things like that. It makes me feel like if the plot's significant, then why bother? That's my kind of feel towards it. But hey, yeah.
I mean, so far, I think it was supposed to be a significant thing. I think it's just something they want to do for that special, and then I don't think they want to do anything more with it. Like,
I think so far the only plot significant things they've announced would have been in WandaVision and maybe a bit of Loki.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked in this film. I know we were talking about how well all the relationships and character interactions are managed. I think I would have liked, since they did decide to drop that whole brother sister thing in the Christmas special and in this movie, I would have liked if maybe they explored the kind of a brotherly sister relationship between Quill and Mantis a bit more. I know they kind of touched on it here and there with little bits of dialogue, but I think I would have preferred it if they touched on that a bit more and maybe just showed how these two characters connect differently together from everyone else. That's part of the team.
To be fair, like during the whole film, I don't think like they seemed like the most furthest apart. Really, they didn't really seem like they didn't really.
Exactly.
It was a bit weird. It was definitely weird.
Yeah.
Well, over the movie, you don't really see Quill with much of the Guardians, because obviously first off he is on the ship with just with Gamora, and then he's in the High Evolutionary's floating castle with Nebula, who then gets separated. He's not really with most of the Guardians for most of the movie.
He did like Groot and stuff, but he kind of picks like. I don't think as a group they're together all the time, but they kind of split off quite a few during this film.
And I think that was part of the dynamic in that even though they're brother and sister, he doesn't see her as someone he can rely on when the shit hits the fan. That's usually why he would call on Nebula or Groot. Because obviously Drax, even though he's a good fighter, he's an idiot. So unless it's a Bruce strength job, he's not going to call on him. And Mantis has useful powers, but again, can be very naive at times. So that is why Mantis felt that Peter Quill never listens to her as well. So they didn't mention that, but they didn't explore it as much as the relationship dynamics between some of the other characters.
Just bouncing off what one of the things you said, you mentioned about obviously Quill relying on Drax, obviously in situations of brute strength. I did like the way that they did actually show Drax going toe to toe with Adam Warlock, because I feel like he got nerfed so hard in like other films. Obviously against Thanos, like fair enough in it, but I feel like he got nerfed so hard in other movies. But to see him go toe to toe with and more or less kind of hold his own in terms of strength, that they done the character service. Because usually he's meant to be the kind of big strong guy of the team, but he gets flung around by the main antagonist. So I think they done him a service in this film, just with that fight scene in the beginning between him and Adam Warlock.
So is Adam Warlock supposed to be on the same? Because I'm not really too familiar with him in the comics. Is he meant to be on the same power level as Superman, or
I think he's basically the same power level as what's her name?
From what I understand, Adam Warlock is meant to be extremely
powerful. One of the most powerful beings in the universe.
But again, I think this is
They nerfed him. They gave you that one line his mum said, you pulled him out of his incubation tank too early. So they kind of tried to nerf him in this film and explain it away by saying, he's not completed yet.
I don't think they've nerfed him. I think he hasn't really shown his full potential yet. Because obviously he's just flown in and flown straight out again.
Yeah. Well, no, I think he's definitely been nerfed. Because I think.
I mean, at the moment, because you, like you said, they used the whole excuse that you took him out too early or whatever. Because he was supposed to be like a very integral part of the whole Infinity Saga. He was supposed to be like the guy who's like, I think he could like another person who could actually wield the Infinity Gauntlet and stuff. So he was just a really big guy. So it's a bit annoying that they kind of made him like a side character in Guardians rather than like a big thing in Infinity Saga. But
and an idiot too.
It's a bit of mixed
it makes sense because the Guardians of the Galaxy would not be able to fight Adam Warlock. Like, if they didn't have him. And so that's why I say I prefer it this way than rather coming up with some contrived way of them beating him. Because they have to lose him at some point anyway. So,
just get a bunch of ants.
This is probably a better way of handling it. Exactly.
Yeah. But what did you guys think of the main antagonist, the High Evolutionary, in this film?
I thought it was.
What was your take on
his ups and downs? I'll say that.
I mean, I thought.
To be honest, I'm a fan of because he was in Suicide Squad. No. Peacemaker, wasn't he? That guy. He was so good. So acting-wise, he's really great, and I love the performance he put and stuff. But I think, for me personally, I don't know about you guys, but as it kind of went on, he just felt like so whiny and shouty, and just started to really annoy me after a while.
Well, you know what, Subi?
And I just got really annoyed at him.
I think they did a good job of making him very unlikable. Like you want to see him get slapped. That's the thing. And I think that is evident of a good villain. Like you want to see them get their ass handed to them. So I feel like they accomplished the mission in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed him as an antagonist on screen more than I enjoyed Kwan on screen in the Ant-Man, because obviously they made the High Evolution across. He's a kind of powerful big bad in this film, where he was pushing everyone else around until the end of the film, where the power of friendship saves the day. But yeah, I quite like that they did make him quite a hateful, distasteful character. And to be honest, he came across like a ranting lunatic. Like he came across like an insane ranting lunatic.
They did it well in the fact that, because part of the way through me, I was like, why are there people listening to him? And then he decimates them. He's just like, that's why.
So,
it was partly his own obsession that got him killed, because he was so obsessed with getting with his dream of creating the perfect being that he started making very stupid mistakes, and even his subordinates were like, what are you doing? You're gonna get us all killed. And then obviously he just wipes them all out. He was so obsessed that it's his obsession that actually was his downfall. Even though obviously they had to do that team up montage at the end, but it was really his obsession that was his downfall.
But it was his flaws that destroyed his wanting a perfect society. He was just not the guy to do it, unfortunately.
What was your thought when he actually decided to cleanse that planet?
Well, this is what I was going to say. He actually was quite a dark character. This is a guy who basically creates hundreds of civilizations and then decimates them because he suddenly thinks they're not up to scratch. Let me go on to the next best thing. So he's literally obviously Khan is meant to be a more scary, bigger, badder guy, but he is also decimating entire civilizations and not batting an eyelash about it. So I did like the fact they made him. They didn't necessarily make it, but it was more that he was a lunatic more than anything, as opposed to I want to take over the world kind of evil.
So are you trying to
he made worlds.
So are you saying he's better than Kang as a villain? He's a better villain than Kang.
Oh, definitely.
And the Kang that we got, yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly that,
And the thing is, we know he was consistent. The High Evolutionary was consistent in this movie. Kang in Ant-Man kind of just went from being taken seriously to being slapstick. So at least I do like it when a villain is consistent and you can actually his kind of development, his descent into madness, which was quite cool.
Yeah, that's the difference between having a writer that knows what he's doing rather than Jeff Loveless or whatever his name is. Screw that guy, man.
Shot fired, bro.
That's very
so
true.
votes were for the DCU or DCE.
The writing on the wall is good, man. It's very promising.
Now that James Gunn's running things.
Yeah, you know what? And the thing about
a decent Superman.
The thing I like about James Gunn is he's not afraid to kind of go dark. Like this film is very, very dark. I'd say it's probably the most grotesque gory Marvel film.
Actually, now that you said that, is this the first film where they've ever sworn in the movie?
Yeah.
It's the first film in Marvel, where I've heard them swear, like, F1.
Yeah. I think they swear like twice.
Yeah, I was like, I think he says like get in the fucking car or something.
Door or something.
And I was taken aback. I was like, whoa, like did they really just drop that in the film? Like,
this is it.
I heard that Chris Pratt just improvised it at the thing, and he was like, "Yes, keep it."
And I think they were allowed to say it once in this movie.
Yeah, you're allowed to say it
was
once.
just improvised. Like they're trying to find ways to put it in, and that's where it fit.
That's pretty cool.
And also the thing I like about Gunn is like he knows how to write characters. He knows how to like write personalities, relationships that feel authentic. Because if you look at the first Guardians movie, like nobody knew any of these characters. Like even in comic book readers, Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't really like a thing. Like it wasn't really something that people heard about. If you were like, oh yeah, the new Guardians Galaxy. Well, when did it come out? Like what, 2013, 2014? If you were to say to me, oh, the new Guardians movie is coming out, I'd be like, so. But like this movie came out, like, and the characters were so good, like so well written, and obviously credit to the actors as well. Like they were all really well cast. I felt like you instantly fell in love with this.
It's an incredible feat to do that, because like you said, like it's an unknown team and stuff, and he made them almost as beloved as the actual Avengers team, which is a huge thing to do. I mean, more people cared about them than the Justice League or DCEU, so that's a huge win. So amazing rank.
And then we got another team that Marvel tried to introduce, the Eternals, which no one gave two shits about. Very big disparity there. Like,
so he's a very talented writer. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And like I'm very much looking forward to Superman Legacy and like all the other projects that he's working on with DC. So
absolutely.
How I know there's been a lot of, I think the actor got there was a lot of kind of not controversy, but a lot of kind of like eyebrows raised and hate around the actor casted as Adam Warlock. But how do you guys?
Will Poulter.
How do you guys feel about the casting, and how do you guys feel about, I suppose, not his portrayal as Adam Warlock as we expect him to be, but his portrayal as Adam Warlock in the film?
Yeah, I thought he was fun. I thought he was a fun character.
I thought he played the part very well. Very well. I thought he was. For what they portrayed Adam Warlock, I thought they'd done a great job of portraying it. Obviously, he's not the Adam Warlock that comic book fans would know, but in this Adam Warlock, who was basically born like probably a year, so obviously he's still learning, and he's quite naive, and obviously very close an attachment to his mother. I think he done a very good job of portraying that. They kind of brushed over a bit of his mother's death, because obviously the High Evolutionary killed when they blew the band, and it kind of brushed over that, because I thought that he was going to have a much bigger part, like having, just seen his mother.
I need revenge. I need revenge.
Yeah. But honestly, they didn't want to go down that route because they needed the Guardians of the Galaxy to be the villain. So I understood that. But I think they've done a good job, and Will Poulter done a good job.
I
think they had the look down as well, which is one of the biggest fears, I guess, that people's like, Will put the guy from We Are the Millers, that guy, but he grew huge and height wise, like he definitely nailed the look, man. So
he did.
For the guy
who everyone kept memeing as the kid from Toy Story.
Man.
No, you nailed it. You definitely nailed it, man.
I'm still waiting for the.
I think man, the scene towards the end where they're kind of trying to throw in the possibility of maybe Star-Lord's demise in the film, and obviously you're expecting that it's going to have to be Adam Warlock who does anything to save him if he's going to be saved, because hey, he's the only one that can. And that
was a bit of an ET moment for me right there. He came out with the little finger and all sorts.
You know what?
That's from the the God and Adam.
Yeah, that's from the Michelangelo
which was kind of weird, to be honest.
It's pretty cool actually. The kind of the symbology behind it, I suppose. Like
also,
I don't know. I mean, if the character's cooler, maybe, but it was just kind of out of place for me.
Yeah, there was another reference to 2001: Space Odyssey as well. With the hamster wheel. Did anyone else get that?
With the girl who was running around there.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
I wasn't sure what he was gonna do with that finger. If he was gonna like heat him up or something, or but then he ended up with dragging him back, and I was like, okay.
I just remember some people in my cinema screen just burst out laughing because it's a weird thing to do at that moment. Because they all got the reference. It was just strange. I don't know.
Yeah.
But some people might have liked it. Who knows?
Also, as well, I do think maybe like an extra scene or something in there to make you maybe understand why Adam was making that save Peter's life. I think they could have added something to justify why he's now jumping in. Because like you said, he didn't jump in.
Did because they saved him and Greece
Okay, so it's like
and he's the only one who can fly and breathe in space.
And then he goes in for kind of like, to be part of the group hug at the end. Really. I've got a few laughs in my screening.
One thing I will say though is, I would not pay mind to see that Guardians team at the end.
Yeah, to be honest, yeah. But then again, with James Gunn writing it, if he wanted to, but I know he's done with that now.
Yeah.
He's the only person who could probably write it well, but with any other writer, you're right, probably not worth watching that team. Maybe.
Yeah. And this is why I have one of my biggest problems with the film, which I don't think James Gunn had anything to do with, is the fact that they said that Star-Lord is going to be in another movie.
Oh, yeah.
Can't we just have this be the end? Just let them live on we don't need them again. Because obviously if Star-Lord is going to be in another movie, chances are that the Guardians are also going to be in another movie. I was like, can't we just have a beginning, middle, and end? Like, can't we just... Like, this story
I guess they're not confident enough to, let the fully new characters carry the weight of the future of Marvel.
You know what?
They're trying to keep the originals handy.
Yeah.
I will say,
but I can't really see what he would do in another movie unless he starts showing ego powers.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's over and done with.
Yeah.
So
I think maybe he'll just show up. He'll show up like as a cameo maybe in another character's movie. Like maybe Captain Marvel or something.
That would be even more annoying. That you waste all of our time with a stupid end credit just to say that he's going to be in another movie, and then it's going to be a bullshit cameo that's not important. Like, I feel like to do that, he must be of some significance in the future Avengers.
I don't know, Marvel like to throw those red herrings in there, bro. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
You know what? But I just want to say like quickly.
I think they're keeping the options open.
Speaking of which, I would like this felt so refreshing because I don't know if you guys like picked up on this, but there was no this film didn't feel like a setup. It was like one of the first Marvel films I've seen in a while that didn't feel like a setup for another Marvel movie / show. Like it just like everything felt self-contained. If anything, they were just tying up loose ends. Like they were just like, okay, this is the payoff for what happened in the last movie. This kind of made me want to go back and watch the last film or the first two movies. But yeah, it just feels so good because I was like, I can't remember the last time I watched a Marvel film where they didn't set up some stuff that you had to like, oh, here we go. So you're basically just like stretching the running time or like compromising your own story just to kind of tease this other project that may or may not happen.
Was there one in Spider-Man?
Yeah.
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 No Way Home.
Venom.
Yeah, there was Venom, and there was like also the ending, like where he's swinging.
Oh yeah, that's
like,
true.
Swinging and stuff. Whereas
you
know,
good wrapping up of things really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've obviously James Gunn just kind of signing off really. So yeah, it's what you can expect. Yeah, it's nice to see that no one dipped their hands in the pie and go, hey, put this character in there so that we can set him up for something and all this kind of stuff. So yeah,
exactly.
That's nice.
And as much of a conclusion as it was consistent with the characters. They gave the characters justifiable reasons as to why the team was looking to go their separate ways, and they touched on certain bits of it throughout the film. With obviously Peter going to see his like grandfather and stuff, Drax obviously potentially going to be now looking after these children that the Nowhere's adopted and what. I just thought they'd done a really good job at like portraying why the characters are going their separate ways and why this is actually the end of the Guardians as we know it. Like you said, Peter, it didn't feel like it was forced.
No.
Yeah, which is why that whole Star-Lord will appear again in the future is so annoying. It was just so unnecessary. It's just so unnecessary. It was like,
no one told you to stay to the end credits, bro.
Yeah.
shit. I've been doing end credit scenes. They told me to stay behind. They said they stand up.
Oh man.
Did anyone enjoy Vin Diesel's dancing at the end as well?
Vin Diesel. Oh,
Yeah.
you mean Groot?
Groot.
You mean
Yeah.
Groot.
You said Groot, but we all know that was Vin Diesel's dance.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Groot saying his first few words other than at the end of the film.
I love you guys.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. That felt weird.
I actually think that was one of the funniest like self-awareness moments. What's her name? Oh, I forgot her name now. The green chick. How she kept commenting on Gamora kept commenting on like everyone understanding what Groot's saying. Like he's just saying I'm Groot. What the hell are you talking about? That was quite funny.
Yeah, but it's like you just making it up now. You just make up these people.
Apparently, there is a reason for that. I can't remember what he said. I think to understand Groot, you have to have a connection or a relationship or something like that.
Because she starts to understand him at the end of the movie.
Well, then, but Thor could understand it from the get-go because he knew how to speak Groot or something. So I don't know what the actual reason is behind it.
But I think that's another reason why we heard actual words at the end, because apparently they want the viewer to feel like we've got a connection to Groot now.
Oh, really? No?
Yeah.
That's very interesting if that's true. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Oh, cool.
Okay. How did you guys feel about the relationship between Star-Lord and Gamora? I don't know if we've talked about this yet. But
Yeah.
did we talk about this?
No.
We briefly touched on it.
Yeah.
We didn't really go into it too much, but yeah, I mean there is really no relationship between them. I think this is just kind of their whole thing in the movie is basically Star-Lord saying goodbye to Gamora as you remember her. He never got like the chance to say goodbye, and this is him now getting the opportunity to set his own feelings straight and say farewell to his now deceased love. So
To let go.
Yeah,
Because he wasn't moving on, and it was just his chart. There was a really an arc. Their relationship was basically his arc of getting over the death of Gamora, and actually moving on and acknowledging that this Gamora is not your Gamora. Your Gamora has gone, and she's not coming back. This Gamora will never be your Gamora. Because and I'm really glad that they did that, because I thought, because it looked like they were going. It looked like they were going to like. They were going to be together. I was like, please don't do that.
that would have been weird.
That made sense.
Yeah, because obviously she started to like him a bit more. But yeah, they actually done the right thing, and he's finally moved on.
Yeah, between this and Avatar, I feel like Zoe Saldana like must be losing her voice, because she's just like screaming, like through both the whole way through the movie. She's just screaming. Like I'm like, boy.
I mean, she did have some valid points. Like, we should just go.
Yeah.
Now the minute I was like, I mean, we got him. Let's just go.
But even the bit where she's like holding a gun to that chick's head at the the first place they break into.
Yeah. I actually thought they'd done a good job at kind of showing, obviously, the darker contrast side of her pre-meeting Quill and the Guardians, because she was ready to start taking people out, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, because she was a brutal murderer before the Guardians of the Galaxy. So it shows it shows like how interactions can change a person's path. And not before meeting the Guardians of the Galaxy, she was a stone cold killer. She was merciless. Like she was a daughter of Thanos. Like.
I think we should touch on one of the plot holes that I saw online. So that ending scene where he was trying to make that jump would have been a lot different with his helmet and his boots.
Yeah. I said, did he use those throughout the film?
No, because apparently I looked up and some people tweeting about it, and apparently James Gunn's reasoning is that when they left Nova, they did it in a rush, so it's in a drawer at his house.
I didn't think about that.
So the comments are just like, that's a bit you forgot.
The helmet is just a part of his attire, isn't it? Like it's a part of it.
Yeah,
like
it's a clip on. Click it on and it pops up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a plot hole though, only because he never used it the entire movie. So if he had used it like at the beginning of the movie and then never used it again, then I would consider it more of a plot hole. But
I guess is the reason they kept it out of the film just to justify that scene near the end. Is that why they excused it throughout the whole film?
I think
just admit you forgot you had it.
But the thing is that suit is like I'd understand if like he had only used it in one movie, but that's his core identity. That's like Tony Stark. That's like Tony Stark not having his Iron Man suit in a whole movie. It just doesn't
they could have easily just done it. They could have easily done a thing where he did use it, and then during a fight it got destroyed or malfunctioned or something. Easy fix. That whole leaving in a drawer thing was a bit weird. It's a bit of a weird explanation.
Yeah, they left in a rush. I was like, was it really a rush?
Yeah. Well, you needed. They needed a way to bring Adam into the fold at the end of the film. So there you go, bro.
Well, again, if he had the helmet and the boots jumping out of the ship when the planet was falling, it would have gone completely different.
Yeah, you would have been fine.
Hey, sometimes there's good decisions, sometimes there's bad decisions. So let's just leave it at that, I guess. We're all human.
I wanna mention like how incredible some of the action scenes were. Like the second unit directing crew, with like there's especially this corridor fight scene.
With the whole team.
Where the whole team, and it's like when it's like moving from one person to another, everybody gets their moment to shine. I was like, this is incredible, man. Like I was because I feel like in terms of like action, the film starts off really slow and it like kind of plods along, and you're like, even though the film it's not bad, but like you're kind of like, oh, okay, this is okay, but it's not like blowing me away. And then I think it's like not till like the midway point.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't say it starts off slow. Probably the midpoint is probably slow, but obviously it starts off with the Adam Warlock fight.
That fight wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like it felt like a set. Like they were just like tussling on a set. But
to be fair, it just felt like normal MCU stuff. Whereas what with that scene Peter's talking about actually felt like something very well thought out and and something that really stood out as a really good action scene and really fun.
I mean the camera in that scene keeps splitting between kind of third person view and view from the perception of each of the characters. So it was really good, and it was done well enough so that you could actually and take in what was happening on screen. The fights wasn't done in a way which you felt like you were missing stuff or things were moving too fast. You were actually able to take in and appreciate what everyone was doing.
Exactly.
So that was definitely really well done.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I thought it was actually pretty cool as well. Like I think that's the scene. Is that just the scene just before where like I think they're deciding whether they should go and take out my man, and Rock turns around first, and the rest of the team just literally turn around and start following him.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the foreshadowing of him obviously being the captain later on, the fact that they're now all following him. I think Quill's like the first one or second one to turn around and start following him. So I thought that was pretty symbolic moment for him, the character.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And was it the start or the end of this film which starts or ends with the opening soundtrack from the first movie?
Yeah, at the end.
Oh,
was it the end? Yeah. I like
the classic.
Yeah,
I like that they for consistency they started with it. That's how the Guardians started and they ended with that tune. That was very beautiful way to end that saga.
I've got a question for you guys. What did you think of the song choice that they used for the new tape that was given to Rocket?
Oh, what, Beastie Boys? Are you talking about Beastie Boys, or are you talking about? Because I was thinking about that as well.
Yeah, because I can't remember what song. I already forgotten. It's only been a week.
Which one was it?
It's supposed to be, was it 90s, wasn't it?
No, that was from the 80s. I think that was from the 80s. But they did say that they Star-Lord was giving a zoom. I think in the first movie, at the end of the first movie, someone gave him a zoom.
Yeah, it got a zoom. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a bit more, because it was a bit of a plot. I mean, at first glance, it seemed like a plot hole, because all his movies are supposed. I mean, all his songs are supposed to be from the 70s, right? But
no, that movie was 80s.
Was it 80s? I'm pretty sure it's from the 70s.
First movie was 80s. This movie was 90s.
But so yeah,
this movie wasn't exactly 90s, because as Peter just said, he got a Zune which had a mix of like 90s, 2000s kind of thing. So it kind of mixed all the eras together. So I don't think there was like a set decade for the music track list on this one.
Yeah.
So it was a big mix.
Yeah, but some of the song choices weren't as good as like the previous movies, I'd say.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. It wasn't as memorable because literally I don't think I can remember one.
No,
yeah.
Well, and also,
it's not my type of music, so it's not really memorable for me. So
no,
that's fair.
Yeah, I was hoping they would, because like you mentioned, Ruben, it did feel like good to hear the theme, but I would have liked them to use it more, a bit more consistently, like especially at the hero moments, like the key moments of the movie. Would have been nice to like kind of hear that soundtrack because it does like give you goosebumps. So
Okay. Anything else? Or should we go into ratings now?
Well, I can give a quick shout out to the actual kind of visual effects / like design work, because like for instance for Ant-Man and stuff, I think I told this last time that it felt like, I don't know, it just felt like AI art turned bad and stuff. It just felt like soulless. It didn't feel like there's any heart or design into it. But this one was the complete opposite, because the designs they come up with like for the worlds and all these different parts was just so good and like so creative. Like for instance, that I forgot what you called the thing they actually had to break into, and it was like a massive kind of like someone's body, like a
fleshy thing.
Cool design and like a cool idea and stuff. So like just throughout the film, there's this really cool, like very sci-fi, like actual. It feels like someone who actually understands sci-fi and understands creativity and design and stuff actually worked on the film and actually like made some really cool choices rather than whatever the hell Ant-Man did, where it was just all the time. So yeah, so I gotta give a shout out to that because that's good stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, no, I thought as a whole, the VFX weren't the best, but the creature designs were pretty inventive. Like a lot of the experiments with the animals, they're quite horrific and like grotesque. And like kind of nightmarish. But I felt like it was very very different from like anything we've seen in the MCU, and I'd say like a lot of them, like thinking about them, I can still remember a lot of the creature designs, which I can't say about Quantumania because it just felt like a blur. Like it was quite forgettable, but the designs in this one were pretty good. The only thing I would say about this movie, I don't know if any of you would agree, but it kind of had a TV kind of look / feel about it. Maybe I don't know if it was like the lighting or the color grading, but especially the first half.
I didn't feel that. To be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt a bit flat. Like it picked up. It did get better as the film went along, especially towards like the finale and the final kind of sort of action scenes. It got a bit dynamic, I guess, with the camera movements and stuff. But even the bits with like Nathan Fillion, which it's good to see him in the movie, by the way. It was just like really bright and like really flat colors.
I see what you mean. Yeah. I guess it wasn't big enough for me to really notice it properly. I didn't really see the TV thing. But I get what you mean, definitely, now that you said it. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it wasn't too bad.
Oh, and also we didn't really touch on the counter Earth. Like, did you guys?
Yeah. That was actually another. I mean, part of the thing that I was going to mention, but I forgot, was that the creativity of what they came up with. A counter Earth set in like, what was it, like in the 60s or 70s or something? Like the way they did clothes and stuff was actually quite a cool idea. It's quite interesting, and everybody's like animals and stuff.
No, it was cool that they like fleshed it out so much because I wasn't expecting for them to spend too much. But I don't know about you, but for me, that's where the film really picked up and started to get good because I felt like the whole let's retrieve this thing because the kill switch in Rocket's heart isn't all working off. That felt a bit contrived. Like I was like, what is this where we're going? So they're just basically a fetch quest to like save Rocket, and like I was just rolling my eyes thinking, oh, here we go again, like another Marvel letdown. And then when they got to the civilization with all the animals, and then like it started to kind of you know, obviously Rocket came back to life, and you know all these other elements came into it. I was like, right, this is actually getting interesting. I really want to see where this goes. Yeah, so that, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm ready for the ratings. If you guys haven't got anything else to add, I think we've pretty much covered most of it.
Yeah, that's about everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So who wants to go first? Yeah, I mean, I can go first. You guys don't mind. So yeah. I really wanted this film to be good because, as you guys know, the past couple Marvel films have been disappointing to kind of bad, really. They just haven't really lived up to, you know, the bar that Marvel set with, you know, the golden age of the MCU. I would say, you know, going into this movie, because obviously James Gunn has a tried and tested formula, you know, with his movies. He has that signature comedic style. He knows how to write and demonstrate different genres, like, you know, fantasy, sci-fi, comedy, horror, all of that stuff. And I felt like he really brought that to the table here with this movie, and he executed it really well. And I feel like the most potent part of this movie wasn't the fantasy or the story. It was actually like the relationships, as I said before, between the characters. Like, you really understand the dynamic between each character. You know, every character is different and unique in their own way. They all get their moment to shine, and they all have like very infectious personalities that you all kind of like really vibe with. So yeah, I just love the whole, like, even Subi, I remember we were having a chat and you were telling me how much you didn't really like the last Guardians movie. And I was like, I kind of see why you feel that way, because the story is not the strongest, not the strongest villain, but I still like the movie just simply because the characters is just so fun to watch, and they're very entertaining to be around, and I feel like the comedy in this one, again, it's just consistent throughout, especially like Drax and Mantis. Like, they just have a really great connection and like really good banter. Yeah, I mean, and even with the supporting cast with Kraglin, Cosmo, they even had their own little you know, sort of jokey skits throughout the movie. So I felt like he just knocked it out the park with all the characters. Even the villain, even though he's not really like a comedic villain, he manages to balance that tone of like being serious and really being dark, but at the same time giving those moments of levity to, you know, give you that sort of room to breathe, and, you know, oh, you can laugh yourself. So yeah, this movie really, I honestly don't know if I'm enjoying this movie more because the last couple of movies, as I said, have been disappointing. So I'm sort of, it's almost like, you know, coming up for water and you're like, oh, I can finally breathe. So I don't know whether this is actually a good movie. I mean, I'm sure across the board with us guys, we'll all say it's good, but in my personal opinion, I felt like they did a lot of things really well. I find it hard to really find anything to criticize about, other than, as I said before, just the first half of it was a bit slow and a bit kind of, oh, where's this going? Is this just going to be a simple fetch quest, to actually ramping it up and, like, you know, the action just really like sort of like solidifying how good this movie is and how relevant, how much it deserves to exist. So yeah, with that all said, I would give this movie I think I'll give it it's hard. I think I'll give it an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10, because even though it had a bit of a TV feel, it did satisfy me, and there was like a roller coaster of emotions there, especially towards the end. Adam Warlock could have been better, but I see why he wasn't, because obviously they probably cut out a few scenes just to kind of streamline the story a bit and like make the movie a bit more rewatchable.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Yeah, great movie by my opinion.
Yeah, I'll quickly go next. Yeah, not too much to add further than what you said, Peter. I definitely get what you meant when you said that it's hard to rate, because you almost feel like this movie it kind of feels like you're coming up kind of from the rest of the trash which we've had in recent Marvel. So it's kind of like, do I rate this based on the other movie in comparison, or do I rate it at Marvel movie? So yeah, I think what kind of pushes me into the higher numbers for this movie is just the emotional. Well, obviously, like you said, how they explore the relationship. Very well and amazingly done. But I just really enjoyed the emotional undertone with Rocket's backstory about how he became who he is, how he lost his friends. You know, it just goes to it just brings you back to the whole thing that superhero origin stories are meant to be about, and that is, you know, heroes usually have like a dark past to live by, which shapes them into the people they are. And I'm just glad that they gave Rocket the opportunity to actually show who he is in this movie. It was quite deep. There weren't any like tears or anything, but heartfelt in the film. Like when Rocket first goes through the procedure to become being and was shaking and he's afraid. And I can't remember the name. I think it's an otter. The friend that he has.
Lila, I think.
Yeah, Lila, that's it. Yeah, Lila hands him like a blanket to cool him down. I just thought it was, which they make you. It takes you away from kind of the action and fast sequence of a Marvel film, and just makes you sit back and actually feel something emotionally. Quite like watching. I enjoy when I'm watching movies. So I think I would probably push the movie. I wouldn't go as high as you and give it an 8, just because I do feel like from obviously Ant-Man and a few other why I enjoy it much. But I would give it a solid, just because I think it was just better than the other last. It's kind of the standard we expect a Marvel movie to be. It wasn't amazing, but it was kind of a sit back and an enjoyable film. And it didn't, you know, as fatigued as I am for Marvel movies, I'm seeing pointed, regretful after watching it. Yeah, I'm solid 7 for me.
Okay, I can go next then. So, I don't know, this might be a bit of a surprise or something, but there's definitely a lot to really appreciate in this film, but I think overall I didn't care too much about the movie overall. I really loved everything to do with Rocket Raccoon himself. Every scene he was in, every flashback that happened was, I really, really enjoyed that stuff. Like the darkness, the seriousness of it. It definitely got to me, which is one of the bits I really appreciate. But the problem for me was, I don't think anybody else felt that, especially not the people I've talked to, but it didn't let me just sit with those emotions for a while, because for me personally, it just went into jokes straight away. Because I remember one scene where it was showing the darkness of Rocket's. I don't know if it was the scene where, certain deaths happened, or maybe it was just when they were being experimented on. But literally, as soon as it ended, it just showed Drax like kicking someone off a motorcycle, and the whole audience started laughing and stuff. And I was just like, what the hell, man? I was way too soon for that. I was just trying process my emotions there, but after the store. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. So the stuff like that just kind of annoyed me a bit, I won't lie, and which kind of ruined the experience, because I don't know. Even though there's a lot to really appreciate and really like about this film, I kind of base my my thoughts and my final conclusion of the film based on how I feel. I know Ruben's kind of similar in that sense. Like I kind of rate it about how it personally made me feel at the end and stuff. So yeah, stuff like that just kind of got to me a bit, I think. And also the fact that I don't know if it's superhero fatigue or if it's just maybe I was in a bad mood that day, but I didn't laugh once during that movie. Like nothing made me laugh in that film. And usually I love James Gunn's humor. I loved Peacemaker. I even laughed during the second Guardians and stuff. So usually it's humor's on my thing, but I don't know. I think there was just too much bickering, too much shouting and stuff. It just really annoyed me and ruined my experiences a bit. But thankfully, I'm not like a type of guy who'll completely dismiss all the good things about the film. All the stuff we've mentioned during the this review, everything to do with the creativity, the writing, the characters, relationships, and the amazing action sequences that happen. So there's definitely a lot to appreciate. So I wouldn't call it an awful movie or anything. I wouldn't call it a bad movie either. I think it was definitely enjoyable, and it definitely accomplished what it needed to do. And it seems like everybody's really the whole Marvel world is really rejoicing of it, which is really awesome to see, which is really good to see. So for my score, I'd give it I'd say a decent 6 out of 10 for me.
Cool. Slowly descending it.
Cam, you want to go next since you moved to your phone for some reason?
Yeah, my computer just crashed.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so I'll wait to start. I can go next. I've enjoyed Guardians. I enjoyed the character development in this one, because obviously Nebula's introduced. Well, Nebula's added into this one. Seeing their interaction with each other, Nebula getting frustrated at Drax. Mantis trying to give Quill life advice and just do it through Drax, which is always hilarious. The story wasn't great, but I like what they were trying to do. Obviously, giving us the backstory between. Why are you laughing, Ruben? Why can I see you grinning?
I'm not laughing, bro. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, getting the backstory behind what happened with Rocket and how he got his name, which was a bit of a heartfelt story. The downsides to this movie, I could say, Adam Warlock, I was expecting a bit more. I understand why he was what he was. He was just comic relief for this one. He's still around, so I'm expecting to see him pop up some way in the future. The High Evolutionary was, he was crazy. It was the kind of madness that you love to hate. Obviously, everyone was just waiting to see how he would get beat, and I can say I was happy with how he died. I have to give it. If I have to give it a rating, it's a hard one to rate. I have to give it a 7. It wasn't overly amazing. There's been a bit of a drought of good movies in Marvel, but out of the ones that have come out recently, I'd have to say it's pretty good. Obviously, it's no Endgame or anything, but after Ant-Man, we got, what was it? Is it Elemental, whatever it's called, which we still haven't heard. There is somewhere in that world, there is a statue in the ocean with his hand in the air, which no one has mentioned. And I want someone to mention it. And
maybe this was one of the High Evolutionary's other counter Earths. Yeah.
I'm just saying, on Earth there is a statue in the water, which no one mentioned. But yeah.
It's not even in the ocean, it's literally half the world. That's how big it is, and no one's ever mentioned it. It's crazy. But yeah.
Give it a 7. It was
different universe.
well prepared, well presented. That's what I've got to say on this movie.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay, I'll wrap things up. I think the two main things I like to see in a movie, I rate a movie by, is the story and the characters. The story, I think, the fetch quest part of it was pretty basic, but I think Rocket's origin story within this movie, I think, was very well told, and it gave me a much bigger attachment to Rocket than we'd had in the past movies. I think all of the characters in this movie, and there's quite a lot, even the side characters, were represented very well in this movie. I think the movie did a good job of juggling all these characters and giving them their own arcs and their own motivations and treating them extremely well. Even like the side characters like Cosmo the dog and the Magic Flute guy had their moments within it as well. So I think James Gunn masterfully balanced so many of these different characters and actually made you care about all of them, which is very hard to do. A lot of movies don't do it at all. Usually you only care about the main character and maybe one of his friends, but this one, I think, even though it's quite a big cast, I think he managed to get you to care about all of the characters in the movie. So I think he did a good job there. The soundtrack I thought was okay throughout the movie as well. And in terms of recent Marvel, this is head and shoulders above anything that Marvel's done recently. But I also think, even without that backdrop, I think this movie, as part of the trilogy of Guardians of the Galaxy, I think fits in quite well. I don't think this is a massive step down from the other two movies that went before it. I think it fits in very well with the trilogy, and it is a good end to what was a great story that was told by James Gunn overall. A bit annoyed about the whole Star-Lord's going to be in another movie down the road, because I feel like this had a nice beginning, middle, and end, and we don't really need any more from these characters. But overall, I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. I think it was a very good movie, so I will go with that.
Nice.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. So not too much, not too much drifting on our views and opinions on this one.
Yeah, I'd say aside from
definitely.
Subi, I'd say we all pretty much agree this is like probably the best Marvel film we've had.
No, I wasn't too surprised by Suits because I know the superhero fatigue's been hitting him the hardest. So I think with every movie that comes out, regardless of how good it may be, I think Suits is still going to be on a downward spiral. I think you need a break, bro.
Maybe I need to take a break and just like save
Extended break.
some films and watch it later or something. Maybe.
Maybe it's just a Marvel fatigue because like your main criticism was the whole the comedy stepping over the seriousness, like stepping over the.
I think you said that in one of the other movies. Well,
yeah.
I think it might have been the Thor movie that you were just really going on the comedy of it all and taking it out of the serious film.
Yeah, I mean to be honest, like if they, because I absolutely loved all the Rocket Raccoon stuff, like really loved all that stuff. So yeah, I think it's just the comedy was a bit too much for me a bit. I don't know. Yeah.
It definitely didn't feel as forced as Thor was, because the last Thor movie was really
Thor was just absolute mess.
Comedy. That was forced with comedy, like that was shoving it down your throat and gagging it. Excuse me, bud. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I definitely love to appreciate.
Yeah.
So would you watch?
I think Marvel's gonna have a problem going forward because this movie did not get me excited for anything they are doing going forward. So
Yeah.
No, like I said, this movie is just it's like the end of an era. It feels like the last Marvel movie I would care about, that to have an attachment to existing characters.
It's the last one that's still like somehow related to the first saga we love. Now I think there's nothing really left.
It's true. Yeah.
Well, Secret Invasion has Nick Fury.
I mean, the next movie's coming up. We've got the Marvels this year. Next year is Captain America and Thunderbolt and Deadpool.
Yeah, the only film I'm really looking forward to
Secret
is.
Invasion one of them.
Not next year.
Wait, that's
TV show.
That's a series, isn't it? Yeah.
That's the series. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The only film I'm looking forward to is Fantastic Four, because they cannot afford to fuck that up. Like that's one of their original teams, like Marvel characters. So
I am bro. I don't know.
I think Fantastic
If
Four
this
is
was
the
the
one.
MCU 10 years ago, maybe. But now, it's just, I don't know, man.
This is what the third. It's the third iteration or fourth iteration of Fantastic Four.
It's the third.
Yeah.
It'll be the third, yeah. So they botched up the first two.
But bear in mind,
they might try and go 3 for 3.
that was Fox that fucked up the first 2 or 3 Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah.
So it's under a completely different company, you know.
This is the first Marvel Disney one.
Also, one thing I forgot to mention in the review is I feel like Marvel are slowly getting more like edging towards like Deadpool territory, especially with this movie with the swearing and the violence and the gore.
Oh yeah, it's true.
So,
but I think that's also because James Gunn. I think James Gunn usually kind of does that stuff in his kind of thing. So I think for his last film, he was like, let me just see how much I can do.
Yeah, exactly. But I heard they censored a lot of the stuff because he wanted to do that in the first Guardians.
Oh really?